We are live. Go ahead.
Thank you, Tico. This is Black Pill Radio. We have of course, we have a serious conversation. Not that not any or all of our conversations are serious, but something that's been spoken about in the manosphere quite a bit recently. Of course, is this Netflix film called Cuties, the Cuties movie. You know, the idea that we've moved so far in society that a movie could come out over sexualizing children is one thing. We've been on this path before, but if you really understand like the undercurrent, the other information that's being presented in this movie too, is that it's actually a slight against anybody who believes in any kind of morals, any kind of conservatism, or anything on that nature. And the reason I say that is if anybody's seen the trailers, one of the things that we notice is that the protagonist in the movie, her mother, is a devout Muslim. And one of the things that's seen in this movie is this child rebelling against apparently the conservative culture of Islam. So this movie has many levels to it. It's not just the over sexualization of children, which of course is deplorable, but it's also an underhanded way of making it seem that we, those of us who consider ourselves conservative, having some kind of moral agency or whatnot, are old fashioned and are really denying the freedom of expression that children should be allowed. There's so many levels to this. What do you think about that, Tico?
I want to tackle the obvious elephant in the room before we even continue on this hot mess.
Yeah.
First off, it's funny how we want to let children, be able to live their fantasies and live their dreams, but we have women killing babies, and it's practically okay. But we want to celebrate children being able to live their freedom and live their dreams in a conservative culture, but you got women over here killing babies in a liberal culture.
Yeah,
like that's the first thing that actually crossed my mind when I was listening to you talk about this, and I was sort of thinking about it. Like, wait a minute, so we're okay with women living little young people? Is it just women? We're okay with just young girls doing this, and we're not okay with young boys being able to live their freedoms and dreams? Is another thing that crossed my mind while I was listening to you talk too. Like, because like at the end of the day, a lot of the children that are aborted are boys.
yes,
Majority of them are boys, which is sad, which lets you know how people think. So either people are aborting them because they found it. Well, if you're aborting them that young, you obviously got to wait a little bit to find out that they're actually boy or girl for all intents and purposes. Unless you do a basic unless you do like a pathology on the what they normally do, which unless you do a pathology thing where you cut open and see what it really was going to be, and then they determine that it's going to be a boy, which is the only way you can actually determine what it's going to be before a certain time if you're going to get an abortion. Which means the woman literally took a stab in the dark on if it's going to be a girl or a boy. This is typically why I'm wondering if they didn't wait to have abortions later or try to push it to the fact where you can wait to see what the sex is. Now you can have that abortion, is what this is all about. But that just crossed my mind while I was listening to you talk about the whole entire thing.
yeah. Well, it is. I mean, there's levels. I mean, you can always read into things, and there's levels to things, and of course, it is also an assault on men because the movie itself is very gynocentric. In other
Mm-hmm.
words, the main protagonist and her fellow supporting cast again are all young girls,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and again it's this idea that women, or not even women, children. Come on, they're not even teenagers; they're children.
Mm-hmm. They're not even
Should
teenagers yet, and they're doing this crap.
right, should be allowed to have the capacity to sexualize themselves. But here's a question though: sexualize themselves for what? And I thought about this for a second. And again, there's other undertones to this film. Again, there's the main aspect which everybody already addressed. There's the secondary aspect again with the mother, representing essentially, even though she was a woman, she still represented a conservative culture.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an underhanded slap to anything that would be considered traditional.
Mm-hmm.
Because
So,
obviously,
sorry about that. Go ahead. Continue.
no, it's just because again she was Muslim, so and this child was rebelling against her culture too. So again, it was an underhanded attack against anything that represents a conservative construct. It just happened to be presented in a way of Islam.
Yeah.
So there's dual meanings. There's two messages that they're attempting to create. Now, what is the ultimate goal? It's interesting. If you take this from a macro level or a black pill level, we see the people like the Jeffrey Epsteins and whatnot in this world. And we have to ask ourselves a question. Are they grooming society to accept this as an insurance policy against any kind of potential threat of being accused of anything? Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
In other
And the
words,
thing about this, another thing that crossed my mind too, because you mentioned Muslim, is okay. They already tackled the whole entire Christianity thing, so now they're trying to tackle the Muslim faith now. Is what it sounds like to me now, because they feel as though they conquered the Christian faith now enough to actually want to move on to the Muslim
right.
faith.
Another good point. And like I said, this is the thing. These are the nuanced things that when people watch a movie or they see this the trailer come out, that they lose. They miss the nuance. It's a good point. You know what I mean? The leftists have already essentially decimated the Christian construct and the ideas of conservative. So they willingly, because they could have easily put it as a Christian mother who was doing this, but but you're correct. They already understood that individual aspect of society has already been defeated. Therefore, you move on to the next bastion of any kind of conservative or anything that would, respect a family or anything that puts men first, of course, which is Islam. So you attack that. So that's very astute. What you just looked at. That's true. There's many points to this, and anytime you look at a film, you have to dissect it in its totality to realize just how nefarious this is, which is correct.
Yeah. It's pretty sad. This is really sad. But this is the society we live in today, when you can actually treat religion like it's some ragdoll or some piece of paper or something that's not to be respected for all intents and purposes. Like, don't get me wrong. I do say a lot of stupid, simple stuff when it comes to religion, about religion. But at the end of the day, I still respect religion, even though I say simple stuff about it, because my personal belief on that is God made me in the image of him. So he pretty much knew what he was doing when he made me. So therefore, you can't be mad at me for what he made. So if I crack a joke about Christianity, or if I crack a joke about another religion, he made me in the image of him. So therefore, he knows that which I will do, even if it's a joke. But like, it's one of those things where it's like, why religion? Well, I know why religion, but like, you have to ask yourself, why religion? Why are we attacking religion? Because usually religion is a structure that's very threatening to people who want something dismantled. Because if you have religion still, a good example of that is back in the day, the slaves, black slaves, they had Christianity to base them, help them, to pull them through slavery for all intents and purposes. They would be in the fields and they'd be singing songs like Happy Days and stuff like that to basically keep their spirits up and basically keep them moving. So you got to take that into consideration too. Religion plays a major part in people's lives to the point where they're able to pull themselves through the most darkest times of their lives to prevail come out on the other side shining and great for all intents and purposes. So you would have to attack religion for that reason, because you can't have a bunch of strong people going against you. So you have to attack religion at its core.
Right. And in essence, when you talk about in that film, obviously she's Muslim, that's a very patriarchal society.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's another reason why they chose that, to really to set that stage of, you're not only, you're by rebelling against your mother and rebelling against her religion, you're rebelling against the patriarchy. But these are things that you have to really, if you look into. In other words, they're not over. There are things that if you're going to watch this film, which I don't suggest you do, but if you at least watch the trailer, you can understand the whole nuance of everything. You can understand what they're really trying to suggest, which is just beyond, which is more and beyond than just the main storyline, which of course is disgusting in and of itself. You think about, in many ways, what they're doing is by over sexualizing these children at such a young age. What they're doing is, if anything, they're setting themselves up, and they're setting other little girls who watch this to obviously, you know, understand or accept the fact that they can use their sexuality as power. That's the other thing that's lost in the nuance here. It's really a transference of power. You have the mother who's traditional,
I agree,
who patriarchal religion, you know, conservative, and they put that as the old power structure, and it's been transmuted into the new power structure, which is this over sexualization. Again, this is liberal philosophy. This is feminist agenda we're talking about at the highest level. And instead of, you know, suggesting that, you know, maybe these little girls should, you know, why couldn't you make a movie about, you know, 4 little girls that come up with this, like, a great idea, you know, something that really showed true what you'd call girl power. You know what I mean? Hey, have these kids, you know, come up with something, you know, incredible to create, or, you know what I mean? Just, it could be a movie that, you know, that had a positive spin. The only spin you could put on it is that what they're really saying, and again, feminists are not really pro women. I can tell you why, because the only thing that they put on it was that the only power you have as a woman is your sexuality. That is
so. They talk in a sad part about that. Listen to that. They actually rail against being treated like objects and being treated as such, but they want to empower you by saying you are this. So they tell men that women aren't this, but they tell women they are this. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly. The hypocrisy is glaring. Exactly my point. And that's the of course, the hypocrisy of the left. And, you know, it's just the entire dismantling of anything that's considered patriarchy, anything that has anything to do with God, anything that has to do with that which is right. But I think, again, the other thing that I believe what they're trying to do is they're trying to get society to accept this. So there can't be any litigation. There couldn't be a Jeffrey Epstein if society takes away laws which protect children. Then these people like the Jeffrey Epsteins are going to have carte blanche. Yeah, they can go out and do whatever they want at that point.
Yeah, apparently somebody sent me an article about this when it comes to that whole entire thing, where they were trying to okay pedophilia, and they were trying to refer to it as transageism. Like, they're basically saying that, you know, a man that is attracted to a little boy is nothing more than a little girl in a man's body. So, and on the opposite, they're trying to actually prepare for the female teachers that they're arresting in large numbers by saying that they're younger girls in a female body.
Right. It's taken away culpability and responsibility, and you're creating all these new phrases, all these new isms. And you know, unfortunately, again, society's looking up, you know, these purveyors of this degeneracy as you know, as individuals they should be listening to and should be looking up to. But what does that say about society when you know, it looks down upon anything that's even remotely conservative, anything remotely religious, anything remotely about God, and says, you know, that's old. You know, these individuals who are spewing this, what rightly would be considered degeneracy, that's the way we should go. Yeah,
definitely would.
It's disturbing to think that, you know, we've reached this point. So what does that mean? I mean, what do we look for in the next decade? You know, you have kids. I mean, my God, you don't want.
No, definitely don't want.
You don't want them.
But I have a grand total of like 5 girls.
Well,
and
yeah,
I got another one on the way. So yeah, it's like, no, like, at least my 2 oldest ones are old enough to know that, you know, that's not the good route to go. And I do have faith in Talia that she won't ever fall down that shaft, but I still have to raise 2 other ones to actually come up past that age. So I ain't got to worry about them for all intents and purposes, which really sucks.
Correct. And I think when we spoke about this earlier, when another thing that people kind of lose, you know, all the nuance is that not only is this movie was made, of course, and obviously distributed by Netflix, it's a Netflix movie, but as we discussed earlier, there's a lot of people that had to sign off on this, and nobody contested this.
Definitely. Like nobody said, maybe that's not the best idea. Like nobody. Or did
Right.
that person get tampered down real quick? Well, no, you don't understand. This is about girl power. That's probably not the best way we should go about it. I'm pretty sure
Right.
somebody said one thing and they probably got fired or they probably got
Right.
re put somewhere else.
Right. I mean, and again, it asks a question. If you say, the feminist, you say girl power. I thought you wanted women to be equal. I thought you wanted them to be able to become doctors, lawyers,
Hmm.
professionals, things of that nature. Why are you kowtowing to the lowest common denominator, which is the most, you know,
Video vixen.
yeah, yeah. Well, really, I mean, it is. I mean, it's like,
Yeah,
what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I want to dance in the street, with a thong.
I want to twerk at the bus stop and make a vine about it.
Right.
You remember that vine with the girl twerking at the bus stop? She would be twerking everywhere. She
Yeah.
got big for some odd reason, and then she eventually died out.
Yeah. I mean, is this what you're trying? This is what feminism wanted to produce. I thought you wanted, again. I thought you wanted equality. I thought you wanted to produce doctors, lawyers. I thought you wanted nurses. I thought you wanted to produce, school teachers.
Mhm.
No, you reduce the female.
CEOs or
Right.
presidents of companies,
Exactly.
business owners, stuff like that. Like, but no, no, you're going to like strippers,
Right. Which, again, these
video
same.
vixen dancers,
Yeah.
Snapchat or Twitch thoughts or any type of thottery or OnlyFans girls, stuff
Right.
like that. Like, really? This
Right.
this is all y'all can be? You wanted us to back up and let y'all grow so y'all could be degenerates?
Right. And that's the whole point. I mean, it's this is why, feminism is a lie, and the whole feminist agenda, because if they were if they were if they were trying to if they were being, again, genuine, they wouldn't create a movie like this. They would never support a movie like this, because it's the antithesis of, quote unquote, what they're fighting against. Now, that's what they say, but of course you see the real truth behind it is that, they complain about misogyny, we don't over sexualize women, but they turn around and they do exactly that.
Hmm.
Again,
Exactly. That's the sad part.
the hypocrisy is jarring.
Yeah, it is. Very. It just blows my mind when you can actually do stuff like that and then be like, well, it's for the betterment of women. Like what?
Hmm.
Yeah, Chernobyl one. He just asked me about the transagism. Yeah, apparently now they're trying to pass a law to actually make pedophilia legal. And they're referred to in it as transagism or transage. Basically, what it means is like you're that grown person, but you're a younger person. You're younger opposites. You're supposed to be an opposite sex, but if you're a woman doing it to a boy, you're a girl and you're a little girl in a grown woman's body. If you're a man doing it to a little boy, you're a girl in a man's body. So I guess if you're a woman doing it to a little girl, you're a man. You're a little boy in a woman's body. So that's basically what they're trying to actually create.
And you can make up all these isms and whatever you want to call it, or whatever you want. The fact of the matter is that it's only producing one. Its only goal is one thing, and that is to reduce mankind in general down to its most, carnal and base nature. I mean, the banality
Mm-hmm.
of life.
Mm-hmm.
Operating from that, the reptilian mind, the basal ganglia, the human animal. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason for this too is once you've reduced mankind away from that which is, spiritual or divine, or even if you don't want to go that route, if you're an atheist, just want to reduce you from being, a higher level thinking person, then they want to reduce you down to the base animal. You're very easy to control.
Mm-hmm.
People have
That's
to
true.
understand that too. If you
Yeah,
reduce.
usually your IQ is room temperature or below. You're pretty easily to manipulate.
Correct. Correct.
Even when if your IQ is about 90, anywhere between 80 and 90, you're also somewhat susceptible to manipulation.
Right. Right. And we talk about the dumbing down, and what better way to dumb someone down and then to make them just consumed with the most base carnal desire. which is, of course, is over sexualizing things, because that's what, let's face it, that's what animals do. Animals go and eat. We talk about you breed like rabbits, whatnot, and once you've reduced mankind down to that, and it's particularly women, there's women are not going to be doctors, lawyers, professionals, CEOs, because you've reduced them down to that which you claimed we as men said they were. You know what I mean? They accused us men as being the ones. Oh, you guys are the perverts. You guys are the ones that over sexualize women. You do this. It's because of you women haven't advanced. So, okay, feminism takes control. What do? Oh, let's not advance women. Let's over sexualize them. Let's, you know what I mean? Reduce them only to objects. So the hypocrisy is jarring.
Yeah, it is. Then I just actually thought of something that actually went a step further than what we're actually talking about, because it just popped in my mind. It's something we talked about quite often about feminism. Instead of actually admitting they're wrong, they corrected themselves and try to get it back to where they are so they can, pretend like they never did it or never went anywhere. What I'm thinking with this is 9 times out of 10, they probably realize that they went too fucking far and nobody's actually buying their story anymore. So they're pushing it to the point where they take women back to where they used to be secretly on a low by over sexualizing girls and stuff like that. They're basically taking them back to where they used to be by doing it this way. That way they can actually say that, see, we corrected it. We're the ones that fix women. Meanwhile, they're back to like the women in the 50s and 60s and 40s and stuff like that. But they'll swear up and down that they're the ones who actually did it and made women perfect for men now, because women power. I'm willing to bet you any money that's what's probably going on, because by progressing women and then digressing women, you're basically taking them back to their base form of barefoot and pregnant. End result. That could be what's actually going on, because they probably realize that they don't went a little too far, and the men aren't going to do anything and are pretty much letting them go too far so they can die off as females can die off as a species for the most part. So I think women pretty much know remember I was mentioning the whole entire, you could take sperm and take a skin cell or a cell from your body and turn it into an embryo, and you really don't need women. I think women notice this shit is coming, especially with the whole entire, incubator.
Yeah.
What's it called? What they refer to it as, the womb.
The artificial womb.
The artificial womb also is coming down the chute too, so they know that they're in danger. So they're trying to probably stave that off by trying to progress women back to barefoot and pregnant and sexual objects for men to actually pleasure and be happy with, is what I'm thinking is happening. That way they can actually say, we fixed women, we made women better for men. Thank you, thank us later, is what I'm thinking is probably going on, because I think feminism realized that they fucked up. Kind of like that saying where they say, Morgan Freeman, it's at this moment you realize you fucked up.
Yeah.
It's typically what I'm thinking is happening, but that's probably I'm probably overthinking that, but it kind of sort of seems that way, and that's the way it's going, because when you see a trend, you see it digress, it's like there was somebody pushing that to obviously make it happen.
Yeah. But if that's the case, it would appear though that it would be again only for the top, 5 or 10%. Forget the 80-20 rule. It's like the 90-10 rule. Again,
I think that they'll probably pretty much open up the floor for polygamy also on top of that. So it'll be one of those things where they can open up the floor for polygamy, and then we'll take it all the way back to the 1800s and 1700s, where you could date somebody under 21 too on top of that. So we're basically trying to digress the whole entire society back to when it was okay for a grown man to date somebody that was 12 or 8 or 9, basically. So we're basically trying to do everything and jam it all into one thing, and pretty much digress. I mean, regress the whole entire society back to a certain time in history where, because of the conditions, it was right to date a woman, and she was considered a woman under a certain age. So I think they're trying to actually jam everything in a needle hole.
Right. So basically, when they say progressives, a progressive, they should call them what they really are, which are regressives.
Yeah.
And again, reducing mankind to this base carnal, machine, the animal. After we've we've made such strides, to alleviate ourselves from, the base carnal nature. And here you have progressives, regressives, what they really are,
Yeah.
reducing us back towards this primitive nature. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things that you can glean from just from a movie, which go beyond just the basic narrative.
Hmm.
There's so many levels to this. There's so many levels to the desires, the compulsions, and the will of of these people.
True story.
One of the what's interesting too is that when you look at these feminist websites, though, they actually do suggest that children should have the access to the freedom of these expressions, which of course is disgusting.
Oh,
But
definitely.
but they openly promote it. But again,
They
if you
openly promote it, but they openly promoting killing off these same kids in the same token, which is an oxymoron.
everything is exactly my point. Everything is an oxymoron with this. Everything. When you talk about liberalism, it's all hypocrisy, oxymoronic. It's the the contradictory. There's basically what I would say is that anything that is leftist is insanity. It's the only way you can think about it. It's absolute insanity.
I agree 100% on that one.
Feminist agenda is insanity.
Yeah.
Again, as you said, how do you say, well, men shouldn't look at women like this, but then you turn around and you over sexualize children? You
Yeah.
know, you look what they're doing to just the boys, having them. What is it, Dwayne Wade's son? How
Oh,
old is he?
yeah. He ain't even old enough to remotely even make it. He's old. He's old. I know he's old. He's not as old as my oldest daughters, but I know he's about as young as he's about the same age bracket as Talia is, which is about
Mhm.
11.
Right.
So I think he might be a little young. I think he actually might be 9 or 8, to be honest with you. I haven't really checked into that since I was disappointed in
Yeah.
them. So
Yeah. I mean, when you think about that, I mean, how
and they use pop culture to do that, mind you, rap culture to actually do that.
yeah. Um, and all these people are essentially, from that Gen X or Gen Z era,
Hmm.
and Gabrielle Union, suggesting that defending these actions.
I'm
I
not
don't know.
shocked that I'm not shocked by her doing it. This is the same girl that was in Bring It On too. So
Yeah, she was in Friday too.
yeah, she was in Friday also. She was in Bring
Yeah,
It On.
yeah,
She was in Bring It On 2, and she was in all those movies where women were technically sexualized to a certain extent.
yeah.
And, and it was kind of weird. Like it was like one of those things where it's like, okay. Oh, especially in Bad Boys 2 when she actually played Marcus's brother and they found a sex tape of her having sex with the cartel guy.
Hmm.
Like so it's like one of those things where I'm not shocked by her in the least bit. That nothing about her shocks me. But
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade, on the other hand, it's like, really, dude, I'm gonna just grab your balls back. Like, go find your balls, grab them out of the purse, put them back on you, and be a man.
Well, I mean, it's funny you mentioned that. I mean, again, we talked about the emasculation of even what would be considered the alpha male.
Hmm.
With the example, in his case, the amount of money and fame and status that he had achieved. I mean, you have the complete package. You're over 6 feet tall, make more than
Yeah,
six figures, and whatever. Um, you think that all the power would be in his hands to put down his foot down and say, "No, I'm not doing this. I'm not allowing my child to go through this." But instead,
yeah,
you have this someone who's perceived as being alpha, who really isn't. He is absolutely blue pilled, and where he'd kowtow to his wife, um,
yeah.
Gabrielle
Gabrielle.
Union, yeah, and allow such things like this to happen. So the whole myth, so that goes into a whole other thing. I mean, the whole myth of the alpha male.
Yeah, because I made a
The,
video. I made 2 videos. I made a 2 video part about alpha. The first one was about alpha male is dead, and it has like
yeah,
remember the African people that be dancing while they're carrying the caskets.
yeah,
That was on that one, and I wrote alpha male across the casket. And then I made
yeah,
another one saying, how to teach people how to be alpha because we're never going to get it back in this day and age. So it's going to be something that we have to teach people over a long period of time, and
Right.
maybe my son's era would actually come up masculine, or the
Yep.
era after him would actually be masculine. So it's one of them things where I have to teach little by little how to be masculine again.
Yeah. And again, that asks the question then, if again, it goes back to this movie. Well, then that explains why this movie even got produced in the first place, because there were no alpha males who said no, who put their foot down and said no. Because you're going to remember, as we stated before, and we spoke about this, people understand that this movie, it's not just about the movie and the producer. Remember, they had to shoot on site, which means they had to get clearance from wherever they were shooting, the mayor of the city, the
Mayor,
council.
police
There's
officer, the council,
right,
Netflix, everybody
right,
had to sign off on this.
all the accountants that were
Oh yeah,
for the
definitely.
budget.
Executive producers, executive directors,
Right,
writers, executive writers, backup
hundreds
writers,
hundreds
everybody.
of people had to sign off on this, and no one said anything.
Not even a person in costumes or
Yeah,
wardrobe. I mean, like think
yeah,
about that.
yeah. Exactly. You're an adult, and you're bringing out this. Okay, time to change, kids. I mean, think about that. Nobody questioned this. This is a cross section of life. Accountants, people in marketing, uh, people in government, all the people that would have had to sign off on this movie that had some part in it. Even
Hmm.
even the extras that walked by. You know what I mean? There's so many. When people don't realize, how many hundreds of people are involved in the movie, and yet everybody was like, okay. I mean, in saner times, if this movie was even brought to light, first of all, it wouldn't even get off the director's cut. It wouldn't even get that far. But as soon as you
Yeah,
try to film
it
film
wouldn't
this
even get
film,
it out of. It wouldn't even get out of pitching.
right, you couldn't. You imagine you're trying to say, okay, we want this to be the scene. We're looking. This is the ideal location, and then you go to the local council and say, oh, we're pitching this movie. They'd be like, not here, you're not.
Right? I'm
You
gonna need you to take
know,
that somewhere else.
yeah. But that's what I mean. This is when you look at the black pill perspective. I mean, to get a movie like this, everybody's got to be on board. It's not just the writer, it's not just the producer, and it's not just the
Somebody
main
got
part of
the.
it.
And I think what the thing with that, because we always talk about crooked governments and stuff like that,
Yeah,
along with those people. I think a lot of people either weren't okay with it until like money exchanged hands. Then they were okay with signing off on it too. Because the thing about I always talk about, everybody has a price to somebody has a price when you want
yeah,
something done for all intents and purposes.
right. And here you can sell your soul. You know what I mean?
Oh, especially in
To the
America,
highest bidder.
capitalism. That's capitalism. That's part of capitalism. Selling your soul has a price too.
Well,
It's
and
all
then
about, are you willing? And always said, if you're going to sell your soul, kind of like all the actresses that came out and said Harvey Weinstein this, Harvey Weinstein that. Okay,
right,
what he did was wrong, but still, what you participated in is still wrong. The fact that you didn't snitch is even wronger. The fact that you let it go on this long and let a lot of other people get trapped in this whole entire mess is even worse. So all these people who came after you, their misery is on your hands. Their blood is on your
right,
hands.
right. So you had everybody that was in this production of this film, again, all the way from the lowest person on the totem pole all the way up to the highest, signing off on this. You know what I mean? Essentially, signing off on this for the almighty dollar. They're willing to sacrifice children
Oh yeah, definitely. That's the sad
for
part.
money. Again, it's easy to beat up on just the director and the movie itself, but always look at the big picture. Always step back and look at the big picture. I tell people all the time in the Manosphere, Red Pill, MGTOW is, step back and look at the big picture. There's always something more going on behind the scenes that's much bigger than just whatever the topic you're really trying to address. So this thing, so that means not only Hollywood, of course, is behind this, but governments are behind this. You know, just individuals out on the street would be behind. Of course, there was a lot of backlash.
Financiers are behind it. And the sad part
Right,
about that, I
right,
want to praise all the people who thumbs down that, because I
right,
never thought I would see that many thumbs down versus thumbs up on something like that. That they pretty
right,
much. I thought all hope was lost until I seen the thumbs down to thumbs up ratio. Last
right,
I checked, it was like 9,300 to up votes to 140 30 something thousand down votes or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was actually proud that there's some people out there, and I'm willing to bet any money, 9 times out of 10, the 9,000 upvotes were probably feminists, and the 100 and something thousand downvotes were probably Muslims. Willing to bet that money. It probably was no other Americans. It probably was a bunch of Muslims that said, no.
Right. You know what I mean? Like I said, yeah, this last bastion of what I call positive patriarchy, that had to be taken down, unfortunately.
Yeah, and the
Within
sad
this
part
film.
about that, I mean, don't get me wrong, the Muslim faith as a whole is good. However, a lot of
Right.
the people under it don't really follow things properly. Like a good example of that, you would never hear, like we always talk about, well, all the Muslims, but the sad part about that, most of the Muslims that are Muslim don't live in Arab countries.
Right.
They live in Southeast Asia.
Right. And again, that's the other thing too. That's the other reason too why they try to paint again Islam as this radical thing, because again, it was actually a bastion of patriarchy, is a bastion of a conservative lifestyle. So they had to lump all of them in, you know what I mean, and say that they're all terrorists or they're all evil, they're all bad. And of
Or
course,
they're all controlled by the patriarchy, when in fact, if
right,
you actually go to Southeast Asia, it's very easy to pick up a woman from that country. So
yeah,
obviously, patriarchy has nothing to do with the fact that they're still hooking up in those countries.
right. So, like I said, this movie tries to destroy so many different, there's so many levels to this movie that just go beyond what the normal narrative is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wonder what the end result of the movie is. Does the mother who was once a Muslim and a conservative, what happens to her at the end? Does she decide to throw off her hijab also and become a feminist? I mean, I can only imagine that's probably what they're going to show. I don't know.
Either that, or she'll end up like stoned to death at the end of the movie, so they can really drive it home.
Something they're going to spin it in some way that shows that anything that's conservative or anything that's patriarchal is evil and bad.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, they will, and that's the sad part about that. And I'm willing to bet that's probably going to be one of the what we just said will probably be in one of the endings for the mother. She drops her faith, or she gets stoned to death.
Something along the lines. Something's got to happen though to make again to put anything that represents a conservative slant on something is bad.
Definitely.
So
and it was a French movie.
Oh, sorry.
I think it was a French movie before that, but I'm trying to figure out, was it actually a Muslim girl in the French version of it or not?
I'm not sure.
Because if it wasn't, then they're really pushing an agenda. If it was,
right.
I'll let you slide on that. But if it wasn't, then we got problems.
Yeah. Like I said, they could have easily painted the mother as like a conservative Christian, but as you said, that they've already been conquered. The Christendom has already been conquered by the left. You know what I mean? So you have to move on to the next example of what's conservative.
Yeah, which is the Muslim faith, and it's kind of funny because it's kind of funny that this movie falls on the same heels as those flyers that went up and said Islam was right about women.
Yeah,
it literally falls on the heels of that whole entire campaign.
Right, and so you think about that. That's why I try to discuss in the past just the level of hooks that the feminists have within everything, where they're always X amount of steps ahead, always trying to scan scan reality and see where they can attempt to usurp power from any group.
Yeah, because I always talk about in a lot of my videos where I say, like, we always talk about how stupid women are, when in fact they're actually much more socially intelligent than we are, and much more emotionally intelligent than we are. They may not be able to control their emotions, but they can use they can use them to their advantage. They may not, as far as the social aspect, women rule the social aspect. Everything about the social aspect is women. If you go on social media, you don't see a guy getting 1 million upvotes. You see a woman posing in the mirror with butt shots, not even naked, getting 1 million upvotes. Like, think about that.
Right. And again, that's what you would assume is the antithesis of feminism is actually being promoted as such. Again, you can't
True.
have it both ways. You can't say, okay, women are looked at as sex objects, and then turn around and say, you know what, Joe Biden, let's give Cardi B an interview. Wait a second. You say you're progressive, you say you're a Democrat, you say you're pro women, but you're promoting something that's the antithesis to feminism. This
Yeah.
woman is comes out with a song "Wet Ass Pussy." I thought
Yeah.
that I thought you were trying to rid women of that stereotype.
Oh,
No,
definitely. That's what you
the left
think, but
promotes it. Right.
oh, they
The
definitely
left
do. They promote. Not only do they promote it, they praise it. Because I remember there's one feminist that actually said when she's actually posed with this question. So if a woman does it to another woman, that's okay. She goes, yes, just as long as it's not a man doing it to a man. Was her exact response to that question of sexualizing women or using women or doing women wrong? It's okay if another woman does a woman wrong, but it's not okay for a man to do anything wrong to exploit a woman for
Right.
anything to get money off of her. It's like, what?
So really, so to wrap it back around to like this movie, what it comes down to, here's the real agenda by feminists. They will use anything in their power, or I should say anything in their arsenal to obtain power, including, right, including the base, your base carnal nature, which of course is sex. They'll use anything to obtain power. And again, this movie's no different. In many ways, they could have, as I remember another red pill content creator says, they could have used like high school girls, and it still would have been bad. You know what I mean? 16, 17-year-old girls.
But it would have been at least a lot better than using actual little girls. They could have casted like an 18-year-old girl or 16-year-old girl and see if she was 11 and made that happen too. But then again, you also got to take consideration too. If you did that, you would actually have to find a girl of that age that actually looks like she's 11 because women are looking much more.
Oh no,
not so good.
No, I mean
they're not looking so good.
Right. No, yeah. I mean the actual premise of the movie.
Yeah.
Could have used young girls. I'm not suggesting it now. Anybody who's listening, I'm not suggesting that they should do that. My point is the writer of this movie specifically went all the way down to children.
Yeah.
So that's complete and utter agenda driven. Like I said, we've all been to high school. We know that high school girls act like this. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely.
But you're going younger and younger and younger. You're going down to children, which clearly shows, an agenda. And again, I say one of the agendas also is they want to essentially decriminalize this activity and decriminalize this pedophilia.
Oh,
the reason for this is because many people in positions of power, when you hear things like Pizzagate, again, the Jeffrey Epsteins, if this happens and society accepts this, they're no longer culpable of anything. Oh,
yeah. And the sad part, the thing that agitates me the most about that is when they actually make that actual thing, what women don't realize is now they're really promoting rape culture because you could take advantage of anybody. So this is the thing that I always have a problem with coming women because we're so short-sighted. It's like, okay, fine, we got this passed and pedophilia is legal now. Now, what you actually left out is now we're going to have to revisit the whole entire casting couch thing all over again. And now the age range is going to be even wider gap when the next time when little girl is sitting on a casting couch. You just messed up. You just handed everybody the keys to the freaking kingdom, and you're a dumbass.
Yeah.
Like, because now the casting couch is going to be a legal thing again now because you're allowed to do it. And what kid is actually going to say no or really hesitate if they're being groomed? It's kind of like what I say about the whole entire submissive thing. If you make a woman so submissive to the point, she's going to be easy to sway away from you or take away from you, or she's going to be easy to be swayed away from any person into another man's arms if she's that daggone submissive. That's the problem with making women too submissive.
Well, but think about it, it's submissive to the wrong things. I mean, you're making them submissive to her base carnal desire. You know what I mean?
That's why I said you never want a woman that's too submissive because she can be. It's kind of like that. What's that one saying about a person that doesn't stand for nothing falls for everything?
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah.
That's pretty much what you're doing to women. Women.
Yeah. And this the other thing too is, again, it's the antithesis to feminism, because if a woman, we know that if you're a girl and you're that young and you're sexualizing something, the inevitable thing that's going to lead up to that, of course, is having children.
Mm-hmm.
And you're destroying the future of these girls by promoting this stuff, which again is the antithesis, supposedly, to the feminist agenda. Again, it's just steeped in hypocrisy, absolute hypocrisy. But
What's
then
up,
again,
Shinobi One? What's up, MGTOW in the Wind? What's up, Mental Freedom? What's up, A Stranger? What's up, who else is in here? So I can give them all a shout out. Okay, that's about it. Okay. And whoever's lurking in the back.
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just looking at some of the comments too. Yeah, it says, Mental Freedom says, yeah, feminism is the perfect vehicle because it uses the feminine intuitive power to absorb value in any form and by any means necessary. Yeah, that's a good point, Mental Freedom. It's again, it's all about the attainment of power. So when feminists were saying, okay, you're over sexualizing women, this, that, and the third, you're misogynist and whatnot, and then they turn around and they do exactly that same thing. It's because they were never genuine about it. If they can use something that's going to give them power, they're going to use it. They may say they don't like it one day, but they're going to like it the next day if it's going to give them power. And this is the illness, the mental illness of the feminist agenda. It's absolutely, these four, again, the protagonists in the movie and the other girls, they don't have a future. How can they have a future? You say you're a feminist, and you say that you're trying to promote girl power. What kind of power do they have? You reduce their power down to sexuality.
Yeah.
How is that?
Go ahead. Sorry about that.
How is that going to get them through college? How is that going to be the next CEO? Or how is that going to be the next doctor or lawyer or whatnot?
Or next Marie Curie.
Yeah.
Which I still have questions on that too, because I was reading about that. I still have questions on that woman, because I'm reading about that currently right now, and it's starting to sound very hinky.
But yeah, I mean, again, the whole agenda at the bottom line is to obtain as much power as possible and to reduce mankind down to the most carnal and base nature. That is what it's all about. Because again, once you've done that, you've been successful. You're going to be successful in controlling people. This is why you have domesticated animals. This is why when you go and you look on the countryside, you see entire farms of animals that are literally there for the slaughter. They don't have the intelligence or the capacity to know what's happening.
Mm-hmm. True.
And if you reduce society down to, again, their most base carnal desires, which of course is the sexual compulsion, which is the most base animal desires, what you're going to have is a group of humanity, which is essentially perfect human farm animals, and you'll be able to do whatever you wish for.
Oh, definitely. So because this is typically why we always joke about, like, the smart people were all dead, and just dumb people are just breeding right now. Right. For the fact that you can't have too many smart people around because they'll catch on to your whole entire game. So you got to have all the dumb people breeding. This is typically why, they try to put, the dumbest, strongest guy. It's basically like breeding for all. It's basically like, think of what they're doing now, like slave breeding. Basically, you take the two biggest, strongest, genetically strong motherfuckers, and you make them mate, and they have offsprings of the next generation of strong mofos, basically. And it basically keeps on going. This is basically what they're doing with all human beings now. Now you're all cattle.
Right. And not only that, though, I mean, to think about this, again, the hypocrisy of the feminists, because the feminists is said they're there to protect the children. How are you protecting children? You're not protecting them from anything when you're destroying them. again, the hypocrisy is just absolutely jarring from the left. And the problem
definitely.
is, is you have the group of men, red pill, MGTOW, black pill, for the most part. There are some bad apples in this group, but for the most part are pretty much thinking men who can, observe reality and say, this is wrong, this is right. If we keep on going down this path, the inevitable outcome is going to be this. And those are the people I don't like. And if those are the people that,
they're the typically type of people that say this is not going to end well. Then you hear heretics, burn them at the stake.
yeah,
Now you got a Salem witch trial on MGTOW, red pill, black pill now.
right, right.
I see that coming too.
Because if you notice, I mean, if you look on YouTube, for the most part, of course, there's other groups that are standing up against this film, but you're going to see the majority of people that are standing up against this are at the very least conservative, even though I disagree with the whole TradCon thing, at the very least. But you're going to see, you look at the people that were commenting on it, it was many people who were within the manosphere. It was, again, MGTOW and red pill content creators and black pill content creators. So that tells you something, that in essence, we are like the last bastion of, what you'd call real or genuine masculinity, which genuine masculinity looks to protect society. It looks to protect its children. It looks to protect everybody. It comes from a position of integrity and honesty and moral agency.
Okay, I got kicked out of the
And
room. Lovely.
What's that? What's that? Tico. Anyways, as I was saying, this is the last bastion of
everybody here.
Yeah. Tico.
Oh my goodness.
You still in? Tico. I think there's a little problem with the audio, guys. Let me read some of the comments while he got it figured out on his end. MGTOW on the Wind says, in the 1950s, when they had advancements in technology, they had more time to raise children to be intelligent, which would lead to more advanced society. But we obviously want dumber everything, right? Right. Correct. We did from the 50s, but we had little problem here, guys. Can you guys hear me? This is Black Pill Radio. Can you guys hear me? MGTOW on the Wind. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me? Are we back live? Are we back live? Tico.
Technical problems. Can you hear me now? Okay, here we go. Now waiting for him to come back now. Yeah, I'm at the. Okay, it's in there, so you can actually go back and look for it. All right, we'll drop it in there again in the comment section, just in case it's too far up. Okay. Yep. Technical difficulties apparently. I wasn't hearable, and everybody else wasn't hearable. Let's see. Waiting for Black Pill Radio to get back in, and we can pretty much sort this stuff out and go from there. I don't know what the heck happened there. I fell out. His sound stopped working, and it was ridiculous. There he goes. Okay.
All right, we good?
There we go.
Are we back
Yeah,
in?
we're good now. Yep,
All
we're
right,
here.
good. I was just talking and talking, and it just I was like nothing happened. But no, what I was addressing was they're on the attack because it appears that the last bastion of any kind of real masculinity is within the manosphere.
True.
And again, if I don't know, did you hear me referencing the fact that most of the people that were coming out against this movie, primarily, were people that identify with MGTOW, Red Pill, or Black Pill,
Yeah. But
and
I think most of the actual thumbs down actually came from the Muslim community because they're not too swift or too keen on a lot of this stuff. Even the women aren't too swift and keen on a lot of this stuff. So the sad part about that is I believe that a lot of the 100 and something thousand thumbs downs literally came from the Muslim community. Don't get me wrong, there were some MGTOWs and red pillars in there that thumbs down
yeah.
did, but I'm willing to bet more of the people who thumbs down it were probably Muslim than more than not.
Oh, definitely, because I said that was definitely one angle. I mean, I could see again there was so many different groups that would have come out against this, but
Mm-hmm.
the question that I have is once this movie drops, and I believe it's the 9th. Does anybody know out there out in the manosphere what date this movie drops? Is it in September? I believe early September. Tico.
I can't remember.
Okay.
I know it's coming up. I know it's coming up. I'm trying my best to avoid it, so I won't be labeled as
Right.
you know.
But yeah. Now, did anybody else notice something? Look when it's being dropped. Right when school starts.
True story.
Right when school year begins, that's when they're dropping this. Yeah, mental freedom, perfect vehicle to attain power. Yes, it is. Shinobi Wan says they didn't like the exposure. That's a good point. They didn't like the exposure. I think they overextended themselves. I think that they made an assumption that they, for the most part, had emasculated a sufficient amount of people that they were able to let this slide. They didn't. I don't think they realized the backlash that they're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
But they did receive backlash, and rightly so.
Yeah, they definitely were.
Okay, let's see what it says. Mental Freedom says, I think the dynamic of the Chad Tyrone athlete entertainer is a contributing factor to the breeding of low IQ cattle, as you guys put it. Yeah, I mean, what's happening is again, when you're looking for any kind of cattle, I guess you could say, or any kind of people that are easy to manipulate and control, you want them to have the best attributes, which are going to be conducive to certain aspects of society, while having having a low IQ on the same token, so they don't rise up. And again, it goes back to, like you said, that during the slave times, Tico. One of the things they did, they wanted to breed the best genetic material within the slaves at the time, but they also didn't want them to be too intelligent, which is why they tried to prevent them from learning how to read.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is something that's been done. It's been done in the past, and it continues to be done. So that's a good point, mental freedom.
Yeah, it's basically a much more better way of doing it. They basically make it seem like it's your choice, because you kind of figure with birth control pills, you typically pick the person that you would normally wouldn't pick if you weren't on birth control pills, and usually those people tend to be have a similar gene pool to who your father or your brothers and people of your fam. I mean, it's similar hormones or pheromones to people of your family members. And typically, what you want to do is optimize your gene pool. So you want somebody who doesn't smell or seem or have the same genetic compounds as the people in your family. So by diversifying your gene pool, you make for stronger offspring in the future. Unfortunately, if you take birth control pills, that's a whole nother story, and you tend to pick based on primal instincts for all intents and purposes. And then the sad part about that, what they found, a lot of the women who were in relationships with men, who were on birth control that were in relationships with men, after they got off birth control, they found that they weren't attracted to their husbands anymore. So I'm not shocked to find out that a lot of women are actually cheating on their husbands behind their back for the fact that 9 times out of 10, when you got into the relationship with her, she probably was on birth control pills. Then when she started having children, she got off birth control pills, and her what she likes and where her preferences were actually started shining through. So therefore, she banged her coworker or her boss or your friend or your dad or your brother. The list goes on, like pretty much.
Shinobi Wan asks, he says, here's a question to all who read it. After learning about this, what actions did you take? Myself, I complained via email, phone, and on their site chat room. I drew in at least 3 managers. Well, good on you, man. Good on you, brother.
Definitely.
Shinobi Wan, I can't say that I did any of those things. All I can say is I've gone on numerous live streams, and and expressed my my distaste for this. I can only say that I've only used YouTube and various other live streams.
I found like 3 petitions. I signed 3 petitions and I called up Netflix and canceled my order.
Mm-hmm.
They go, why are you canceling your order? Because of this lovely thing you got coming up. I don't want to expose my daughters to some bullcrap and some nonsense. And I was basically one of the many people that actually asked them, so are you promoting pedophilia now, or what's going on? And you got the generic base answer. We can't answer this question. It's basically we try to diversify our playlist to fit everybody and all people that watch our platform. Like it was some bogus crap that they used basically to get out of answering the question.
And think about that. They just said it right there. We try to, you know what I mean? They're trying to a broad brush. They're trying to satiate every viewer. Well, what viewer specifically are you targeting with a movie like this? You know what I mean? It's when you say these things. Americus DeVille. This has been that way for years. It has been that way for years, indeed. But of course, the recent push, I mean, you have to admit, is we've turned a corner, a big corner. I'm sure you'd agree with that too, Tico.
Yeah, we turned a huge. I can't even say we turned a corner. We literally like went through the flipping building like a wrecking ball came up the other side. Nobody even got to say wait. We just went through it.
Yeah.
And now we're done with the trauma on the other side of the head injuries that we got going through that freaking brick wall.
Yeah.
It's like going around a corner is a nice thing. At least you had an option to not go around a corner. They literally ran us to a freaking brick wall.
And again, it's just so interesting to think that again, this movie's going to drop right at the beginning of the school season, and right before
look up that date.
Right, it's in September, and right before the election also. I'm telling you guys, all you guys out in the manosphere, MGTOW men, red pill men, black pill men, is be prepared. I keep on saying this is my new mantra now. Is please move beyond the generic red pill information. Look deeper and turn over every rock. Expand your understanding of what's happening, because the original MGTOW content, original red pill content, is insufficient for what is coming down. I suggest that black pill on steroids, talks about these things. Be very mobile. Always have somewhere in mind where you may be able to move to that is not going to be as affected by this, this feminism and this liberal ideology, which is spreading like cancer. If you're in the United States, I would say move to a state where you can carry for your protection. I would say save as much money as you can. And if you're really smart and you want to get a vehicle, my suggestion is I would get either a very large conversion van or a very small RV, something that you can actually live in and yet also be mobile. Again, this isn't something that takes a lot of money. And again, you don't have to buy a new car. You can just buy a conversion van. You know what I mean? You don't have to. It's not,
yeah, I just looked it up. Apparently the original did have Muslim girls in it. The cast was Muslim.
Yeah.
Predominant cast was Muslim, and the original one that was French.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that. Go ahead, though.
No, I was just saying, just be as mobile as possible. Mental Freedom says I just became a truck driver for that reason. Yeah, mobility is the big thing. Yeah. Mobility needs to be the big thing. And the other thing too, listen, if you have kids, my suggestion is try to red pill them as much as possible. Never allow the woman to be the head of the household. You're the man. Don't never allow a woman to make the decisions.
It actually came out already. It came out 2, 3, 4. It came out on the 19th.
Okay.
So it's already out.
Mm. But like I was saying, though, if you do have kids, be the alpha male of the household. Um, if you don't have children, my suggestion is don't have children. If you're in a position right now where you can, you have the money, my suggestion is try to be as mobile as possible. As I said, always have a backup plan. Always observe your surrounding. Always observe what's happening within again society and media and governance. Guys, trust me, some very bad things are coming down the pike.
Oh wait, I made a mistake. It was released in France. The second version of it, this version that's coming out to Netflix was actually released in France, and on the 19th. The actual original, the actual international version is coming out the 9th, like you said, September 9th. So
Yeah,
yeah, it is school year,
yeah,
and it uses the same cast from the original.
yeah. So I mean, yeah. So we understand that this is again, this is all by design.
Ish. This is gonna be sickening. This is gonna be real ridiculous and sad.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody else have anything to say in the lovely chat? What's up, Mental Freed? I think I already said hi to you. New Zealand. Yeah, this is just very mind blowing how far we came and how far we devolved as a society. It just blows my mind. It's like the first world countries are starting to digress into third world countries now. Like, how is that progression and how is that progress if you're trying to digress to a third world country standard of
Mm-hmm.
living? Pretty soon we're all going to be making freaking $500 every 6 months now. Then that's going to be the new standard, new norm now. And then everything's going to cost so much money. We're all going to be living out on the freaking streets.
Well, in a way, that would be something that would be desirous of the feminist agenda, because at that point we would all be reliant on government at that point.
Well, the sad part about it, if we did that, there wouldn't be very much government there because nobody would have a job to remotely pay the taxes anymore at that point, because there wouldn't be nothing to rely on, because there wouldn't be no money to actually be had to actually remotely have these programs, which is very stupid. You need people to actually work to have these programs. If you destroy the whole entire middle class, none of these programs would ever exist.
True.
If you destroy a lot of the upper class that's not rich, none of these programs are going to exist. So I don't understand how everybody thinks this is a great idea. We are going to destroy the very programs with the people if you destroy those people's livelihoods. Would you think money just falls out the sky, or as my grandma say, grow on trees? If it did, we'd be out there picking it off the tree.
Yeah. The thing is, though, what's crazy about that is they want us to become so sufficient. Again, because socialism, quote unquote, spread the wealth. We'll all have very little. It's like Cuba. Yeah, everybody's equal there, but everybody has nothing equally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as long as we're dumbed down sufficiently, they could literally get away with that, and people will gladly take, their their 2 pounds of rice they get a month. You know what I mean? And their stipend for like water. Again, because they've been so mentally traumatized by this feminist agenda that people are just sheep. No one will stand up. Well, a few of us are standing up, but most people won't stand up. They'll say this isn't right.
Yeah.
I don't need.
They'll basically just say this isn't right, and it'll go back to their merry way in their life. I would like to make an announcement. FYI, my family grows rice, so if y'all ever end up in this situation, give me a call, and I'll make sure you get a bag of rice. Just keeping it 100. I will do my best to pass it out as much as humanly possible. You will probably get rices the size of like a 20-pound rice bag. Typically, is how it works. So that's the best I could do if y'all end up in this situation. I'll try to hit up every MGTOW, red pill, black pillar first. Then everybody else can pretty much figure it out for themselves.
Yeah. Because once you've sufficiently dumbed down society, who's going to rebuild society after it collapses? It's got to be people like us. If you look at 95% of the people around you, they can't even string two cogent words together. Listen, I'm going to ask you an honest question, guys. People that are listening right now, the 10 people watching, people that have already commented on here, America's DeVille, Shinobi Wan, Baron Yan, Mental Freedom, all you guys, anyone else I might have missed. Listen, who's going to build society after this collapses? It's not going to be the 95% of people out there that are blue pill.
Oh no, it's definitely not.
Again, Tico, you can ask this question. You've had conversations with the general populace? They couldn't come on here on YouTube and have an hour-long conversation on this level. They don't know anything. And I'm sure
the sad part about that is, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the sad part about that is, this is my last language, and I speak it better than most. Let that shit swirl around in your head. English is my very last language I learned, and I speak it better than most. Please help me make that make sense. Like, literally, I ran through 16 languages, English being the very last one, and I speak it better than most. How does that even make sense?
I think anytime you dumb down a society, though, even a society with their single primary language, it doesn't matter. I mean, at a certain point, I mean, you become so dumbed down that number one, you don't fight back, and number two, you can't build anything, and number three, you can't string a few words together, cogent. You can't make a cogent argument. And this is the majority of people around you. I mean, I don't know. Listen, have you ever spoke with your neighbors? I mean, you just like are listening to how they.
I try not to. I really try not to.
Their conversations are on the banality of life. I mean, listen. If I were to go out and and hang out with you and go out to a bar, of course we're going to talk about common stuff. But these people don't have anything beyond that.
They can't talk beyond reality TV, pop culture, rap music, and sports. It's like, and the sad part about that, I always say, and I will say this in a heartbeat about myself, I'm not that great at English. I will admit that. But then when people are like, well, Tico, you speak it quite well. No, I'm being honest. I'm not that great at English. I mess up a lot on English. I mess up on enunciations and pronunciations. So I know I'm not that great at English for that reason. Which blows my mind when people do stuff or say stuff to me like, well, you suck at English. Well, the way you just wrote that, I don't want to beat up a kid and take a sucker from him. Never mind. I'll just let you have that. Yeah. It's like I just walk away from the argument altogether. It's like, forget it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I mean, this is where we are now. I mean, even at places of employment, and you'd have conversations with people and there'd be nothing there. Nothing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Nothing.
Like I was working with this one girl. She's a tech. She was a generalist tech for a lab, and if you talk to her long enough, she basically sounds like I couldn't even call her a hick because I've met people that are rednecks or hicks that actually can string more words and sentences together than she could. It's like she kind of reminded me of like if the girl from Clueless met somebody from the backwoods.
Yeah,
that's literally what she sounded like to me. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, what? And you're smart? What?
Well, the thing about that, I mean, there's many people that can be. How do I say this? I don't want to sound like I'm insulting because I'm not. I'm giving a compliment when I say this. There's many MGTOW content creators or Red Pill content creators who may not have a formal education, but they have a tremendous amount of wisdom, and they observe reality around them. And they may not be able to articulate it in such a way, but they are light years ahead of even most people.
Here's the thing about observations. Like, you can make all the observations you want, and you could encourage people to rebuild society, but it depends on what exactly it is you're visualizing when you're telling people to rebuild society. We have a lot of outside elements and influences and spirits and things like that. You could say created this society, and men primarily are the figureheads of the people, the real influences that actually help build this kind of corrupt system. And so when I think about rebuilding, I don't necessarily think of all of us MGTOWs in a room deciding who gets what resources or whatever, or who gets to allocated the amount of the proper amount of respect and resources and women and things like that. It seems like too tedious of a thing for me personally to spend my time doing. I would rather not get involved with building society or getting it involved at all in society. That's just my opinion on it.
Well, I mean, I never I never gave a definitive answer as to, how society would be rebuilt. I'm just saying that all societies collapse, and in the end,
It needs to be rebuilt, basically.
it needs that someone's got to have to rebuild it. It's not a question of, what is the mode of discourse we're going to take? How are we going to apply the necessary ways, means, and methodologies to rebuild it? I never even went down that path. I'm just saying, if everything collapses around you, someone's got to have a shovel. You know what I mean? It's just it's the way it's just
like
the way
a good example of that is because like the neat thing about men, you may not realize this, Baron Yam, but the neat thing about men that I've noticed is at the end of the day, men are always going to do what's right, no matter how mad they are at the world, no matter how much the world kicks them water down, no matter how many times the world kicks them in their nuts and kicks them in their balls and kicks them in the face and spits on them and disrespectful. A man's always going to do what's right at the end of the day. It's generally a man's nature to do what's right.
Yeah, but when put in that position of equality, men fall victim to the same feminist tactics of propping themselves up on a pedestal. And we've seen with like certain social experiments like communism and socialism that men put into power are just as fickle as any woman.
True. But the thing is though, but the thing is though, you're missing a point though, Yam. We're not talking about actually rebuilding the world. We're talking about it's going to come a time for it to need to be done for all intents and purposes. So we're not even venturing down that avenue for all intents and purposes.
Right.
We're saying basically it's going to have to be something that's going to need to be done. And the sad part about that, knowing men, there's always going to be that select group of men that's going to pick up the pieces and always rebuild. It may not be you, it may not be me, it may not be Black Pill Radio, but it's going to be a certain group of men that care too much to let shit just go to shit.
I agree.
Yeah, there's something wrong with your mic over there, guy.
Yeah.
Baron Yam.
We got
there's something wrong with your mic.
It sounds like it's cracking up.
I hear something. Okay, I'll punch out. But
all right.
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to say that.
I know. Yeah. That's why I let you in, because you said you wanted to make a comment about that.
But yeah, to get people up to speed, we got Mr. Money AD in here.
What's up, Mr. Money AD? Don't forget you're invited to table flip.
These to get back to what we're saying is that society has we're listen, there is a specific mode of discourse we're on. Everybody who's listening to the stream, I'm sure, is keenly aware of the fact that we are going in a particular direction and the wheels are coming off. And so I guess the point that you and I were trying to make, I think Baron Yam may have gotten lost in translation. We weren't saying, okay, this is how we're going to do it. We're just saying we're going to be left with a shit pile and we're going to have to clean it up.
Yeah, somebody's going to, and if we don't, even if we don't want to clean it up, there's always going to be a select group of men that are going to be like, you know what, I'm going to take this one for the team. Because there's always that group of men that are going to be like, you know what, I'll take this one for the team. Think of it like this. You went out to the bar with your boys or your homeboys, basically, and there's always that one guy that'll take one for the team just so you can get the pretty lady. Like, he's always your wingman that'll take one for the team just so you can get the lady that you want out of the group. There's always that wingman. You see what I'm saying, Birmingham? So at the end of the day, there's always going to be that wingman that's always going to be there and go, whoop, here goes the broom. I got the broom over here. Okay, don't worry. It'll just start sweeping. Like it ain't nothing.
Yeah.
Like it's something he knows. It's something that's innate that he has to do, basically, because that's typically how men work. I don't think men would ever get in a room and go, you handle this, you handle that, you handle that. I don't think it'll actually happen that fast. I think it'll be one of them things where, like, what's the one movie where it was like there was like a lot of destruction, bombs done fell, and everything done fell around the guys, and next thing you know, you see the old grandma out there sweeping up rubble with her little ass broom, and you see her son, you see her son like behind her just picking up rubble and walking around with a garbage can. It was like a movie. It was like a wartime movie where like they were literally like the old lady was basically just sweeping up rubble with her old fashioned broom, and her son was up there doing something else, and her daughter was sitting there trying to wash the building walls and stuff like that by hand. And it's like that's typically how that's going to work. There's always those people with that mentality that like cleanliness. Because the sad part about that, you forget that there's a lot of people who like things clean and like cleanliness because they say cleanliness is next to godliness. That's a tad bit off topic, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah. I was just thinking of another point of things that we're talking about, looking down the future and looking down that dark highway. Nobody knows. Listen, all of us know what's going to happen to an extent. We can paint a general picture. What we don't know is how bad the outcome is going to be. Because guys, let's face it, no one is standing up for this thing except for us. And again, we're in a minority.
And then the Muslims that probably thumbs down it because I'm willing to bet any money. I still think I'm gonna take a wild guess and say about 10,000 people from the Manosphere thumbs down it, and the rest were Muslims. Because anytime something comes out that innately is against Muslims are always usually the first ones to react to it. And I noticed that because usually I'm always the guy speaking Arabic to people to tell them to calm down. It's not that necessary. We got to do this right. This is not what Allah would want us to do, basically. And this is simply how I always tempered it. Because I remember the last time something like this happened, they came out with the movie of Muhammad, where they basically just painted him in this real ridiculous light, and a lot of Muslims were mad. So I'm on social media speaking Arabic to various different Arabic people, very different people, and I'm like, this is not how Allah will want this to happen. This is not exactly. You can be mad about it, but be mad about it respectfully, because this Allah would not be proud of us if we did it this way. And I had a lot of Muslim friends on social media for that reason. Like, oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah, Allah wouldn't want us to be like this. And even though they disrespected Muhammad, he wouldn't want us to be like this. He wants us to be respectful and do it differently and handle it differently and be a peaceful people. And that's typically how you actually address that, because this is exactly how I know that a lot of Muslims actually thumbs down this, because of that incident that happened with the Muhammad story.
Just to get people up to speed, what Tico's talking about, because some people that may have come in late, the other underlying story within this movie is that the protagonist, the young girl, her mother, she was a Muslim, and she would take off her hijab. What the whole point is that anything that's conservative, or anything that represents, again, traditionalism, anything that represents the patriarchy, is essentially being looked down upon. So that's the other element of the movie. Not only because these girls twerking, it's this rejection of the quote unquote, not coming from me, a conservative, rigid, religious concept or idea. That's the other undertone, the other undercurrent of this film. That's what they're trying. That's what they're rejecting. So that's why, if you just came in late, you didn't know why he was addressing Islam. That's why.
Yeah. Don't trust me. I'm not Muslim, but I know enough about it to know how to quiet down a lot of people so we won't start no insurgencies, basically. I'm basically like a nice little peacekeeper between religion. When it comes to different religions, I tend to know what to say and how to say it, so I can keep everybody from wanting to put on vests, or wanting to start launching missiles and rockets and mortars at people for all intents and purposes. And this goes for all the religions for all intents and purposes, because I just named a bunch of different things that all the big three have done to each other and other people. So it's one of those things where I've learned enough about all the three major religions. Let it be, well, not the three major ones, because there's other ones, but I'm talking about all the Abrahamic ones, to know how to actually quiet a crowd, how to actually deal with people, and how to actually make it so that it doesn't escalate into chaos or craziness that doesn't need to happen between the three major Abrahamic religions.
It's kind of, ultimately, Okay, I have a question. What do you think is going to happen next year? Yeah, good point. America's Seville Christian Church feminized. Right.
Well,
That's
how's the Christian church going to be feminized when, in fact, they just pushed the pastor off the stage not too long ago to his death or to his injuries?
no. He's saying Christian Church has been feminized already. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mr. Money AD had said, "Wow, very interesting. That trailer did trip me out. It was so much about going against good things." Right. They had a grown woman as a female judges. Yeah, shake my head. Exactly. Right. So guys out there in the manosphere, everyone, Tico, where do you think we're going with this? What do you see in the next 6 months? 2021. Yeah, good example. What do you guys see?
I hope we're still alive and around just to talk about this.
I'll give you my take on it, and then anybody else can give their take on it. But my take is this: this whole coronavirus, this whole election is basically setting us up for the real final push for any kind of global governance. This is the last big push. We're never going back to normal, guys. The people that are in positions of power and authority that obviously that control this whole globe are not. We're not going back. There is not going to be like we had the past 3.5 years with low unemployment, with general freedoms. Those days are gone. They're gone. They are gone. And this is why I tell you guys, look deeper, turn over rocks. You know what I mean? I know. Start taking some black pills. Because what's coming down the pike is again, it's not going to be good.
Yeah. The sad part about that is what a lot of people. I was talking about this in a live stream with One United, because I was basically trying to get them to understand that the fact that anytime the United States passes a bill, there's stuff in that bill that you don't get to know about unless you actually read the complete bill. They pass more stuff in a bill than besides just the Affordable Care Act, or the one that happened with the last one that they passed was for the stimulus package. There's actually more stuff in that bill to actually give them more power to do whatever the heck they want every single time they sign a bill into law. There's always more stuff than actual initial stuff that you hear about.
Right.
It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. That bill that they passed in Canada. That apparently you can't bring up a woman's sexual past, video or anything, or recording. That was actually packed in that whole entire bill that they actually passed on top of all the other stuff that they passed. And the sad part about that, like, if a state wants tanks or mortars or FEMA camps, like a good example of FEMA camps is right now in Cumberland, Maryland. There's a huge FEMA camp there. It's gated off. It has tanks. It has like little houses for people to live in that camp, like the little modular homes. What is it called? Trailers for people to live in and stuff like that. And like it's huge. It takes up a lot of land in Cumberland. So there's a FEMA camp there, literally in Cumberland, Maryland. So if you're near Cumberland, Maryland, anywhere, which is only like, if you live in Pennsylvania, it's only like 2.5 hours from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, and it's all of a hop, skip, and a jump from Baltimore, and it's big enough to actually house like half of Baltimore, half of Maryland, and part of southwestern PA. So if you live in Westmoreland County, and I would say Westmoreland County more so, and you live near Cumberland, 9 times out of 10 you'll probably be housed there. Like, think about that.
Yeah,
that's how big that is.
There's many FEMA camps throughout the country. We spoke about this we've spoke about this in the past, all the black lined coffins and whatnot, and
yeah,
they've been. I mean, again, you have everything, like I said, the Georgia Guidestones. We've all discussed all those things. I mean, everything is out in the open. It's eyes wide shut.
Yeah, just like that movie.
Yeah, this idea that there's any hope. There's any hope to turn this around? There is none, guys. It's just prepare. That's all I can tell you. Just prepare and listen. Because you're a man, listen to me. Make sure you got your masculinity in check. Make sure that you maintain frame, because there's kind of shit that's going to come down. It's going to test your resolve.
Definitely. Because the sad part about that, another thing that I learned from traveling, apparently the U.S. has a lot of things going on where if you're a U.S. citizen, even if you're an expat or anything like that, if they decide that they want to lock it down completely, they can pretty much bring everybody back from that's a United States citizen back to United States and put them in FEMA camps. So you'll pretty much be what they call it deported back to the United States, so you can actually suffer the consequences. So if you're actually a U.S. citizen, you will have to suffer through this, even if you're an expat or you live abroad. Even if you denounce your citizenship, you're going to have to undergo this stuff no matter what, because apparently, for some odd reason, even if you denounce your citizenship from the United States, it doesn't count. You still belong to us, and you belong to us, and we'll bring you back whether you like it or not. So even if you denounce your citizenship from the United States, they still have the right to bring you back to the United States and put you in these camps.
Well, because we don't, that's the thing, and people don't understand is we don't have sovereignty. If you think for a second that you have real freedom, you're sadly just confused. We don't have freedom in this country. What we have is it's kind of like what is like when you get a driver's license, a privilege. Listen. This is the problem with the elite think of us. Just the fact that we can even talk right now, even about
is a privilege.
Is a privilege. Exactly, Tico. The fact that you can even go outside right now and go down and get some takeaway food or whatever is a privilege. So this is a problem that people don't understand. What you view as a right, they view as a privilege. And let me tell you, those two words are not nuanced. There's a difference between a right and a privilege. Again, what you think you have as a right, they think you have as a privilege.
Yeah. Or my favorite from Boondocks, I allow you to live. I allow you to eat my food. I allow you to live in my house. I allow you. Yeah. That's basically how they think of us. Is the best way to depict it was Grandpa from the Boondocks when they go, "Can I have an allowance?" And he goes, "I allow you to live. I allow you to breathe. I allow you to talk to me. I allow you to live in my house." It's one of those things where it's like, that's literally how they think of us as human beings. Like we're literally nothing. We literally are kids to them, and it'd be like no different than if your daughter was supposed to go to the spring dance and like she cut up in school. Now you put her on punishment, and now she can't go to the spring dance, and all of a sudden her whole entire life is ruined and over, and she's dead now because you won't let her go to the spring dance. That actually happened to me. That's the reason why I'm bringing that up right now. Because I had to ground my daughter, and her whole entire life was ruined and over because I wouldn't let her go to the spring dance. You see what I'm saying? That's technically how they view us.
Yeah, I mean, listen, even when you vote, let's say again, we even know in the United States, when you vote for the president, again, it's really the electoral college that puts the president in office. In the UK, I mean, at the end of the day, it's the Queen that signs off on everything. I mean, people don't understand that we really don't have freedoms. We just don't.
Yeah, it is Mental Freedom. That is definitely a good book. I was just able to go out and get that book, 38 Laws of Power, Since the Art of War, and there's one other one that I can't think of right now off the top of my head. Definitely go get that too. Yeah, we're well past the Tea Party stage, Americus.
Yeah.
Even though there's Tea Party people actually out there trying to protest and bring the world back to where it used to be, we're well past that. They're too late to even remotely speak up. They were there a few years ago when they were actually had some power. When what's his name was going for office, and the one chick from Alaska was his running partner. Where were they at then?
Oh yeah, you're talking about the governor of Alaska.
Yeah,
She was the vice president.
and she was apparently she was a part of the Tea Party. She was like a member of the Tea Party, quote unquote, supposedly.
Even that stage though. I mean, that's like they were still the good old boy network even at that point though.
Yeah,
I mean,
they did have a lot of crazy shirts on their website.
Yeah.
So they were quite good old boys and good old girls.
Yeah. No, not Ron Paul. No, Ron Paul's a libertarian.
No, that was what the McCain. Was it McCain? No, McCain.
Yes.
McCain.
No,
it was McCain.
Yes.
It was McCain.
Yes. America's
It was McCain.
Right. No, we crossed the Rubicon. There's no going back, guys.
Yeah, Mr. Money AD actually agreed with me on a granddad from my Boondocks.
Yeah.
I allowed you to live. It's just crazy the stuff that happens, and like we just let go. And I always say, anytime your government signs a bill, don't pay attention to the craziness going on over here. Pay attention to what the bill they're signing, because I honestly say, anytime they come up with a bill, or anytime they say we're going to make this a bill, or we're going to do this, start looking at what's in that bill, because it's usually on .gov, something.gov. They usually have a copy of the whole entire bill on there, and like I literally kill a lot of my time reading all these bills. Like when I'm traveling, like I'm on an airplane, I got PDFs in my phone. My phone's so filled with PDFs that my 200 and something gigabyte storage is down to like 43 gigabytes of storage. That's how much PDFs I got in my phone for bills that they pass in the United States on a regular basis year after year. It's like ridiculous, some of the stuff that's in this bill. Like a bill that should only have like 14 pages has like 500 pages or 300 pages or 230 pages. Like, you ever think, why does it have that many pages?
Oh yeah, I mean it's not only that though. I mean, of all the trillions of dollars that were given out, most of it went into the pockets of the elite, anyways. Which is
and business owners and stuff like that, stock options and other goofy crap like that.
Yeah, I mean, the common man didn't benefit from this.
They basically gave everybody else steak and they gave the scraps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or what's that saying? Give them enough so we give them enough so we can quiet them down and keep them from revolting. That was not Nixon. Who was that guy that they claimed said that those racist words? Lyndon B. Johnson actually disproved that they actually said the whole entire one about that thing. They usually use it in conjunction with something they actually said to actually prove. They actually try to say he said this too.
Yeah.
He basically said that was a quote that he said, like, give them uppity. That's right, these uppity niggers. Basically, give them. We got to do something about these uppity niggers because they're getting too uppity for their own good. So we're just going to give them just enough so they can quiet down and go back to what they're doing.
Mr. Money AD says, how do you think other countries will do while the U.S. is going through its trials? Well, I think, Mr. Money AD, that the rest of the world, if you look at other countries in the West, have been so emasculated and are so entrenched in, feminism, and the feminist agenda. Those countries are just going to fall right over. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Just
I think if any of the Western countries actually survive, I believe the only one that's going to survive this fairly unscathed is Russia, for the fact that they jail all feminists. I think they'll probably be the only ones that come out of this they're not going to be unscathed. They'll probably be like, take some damage. I think they'll stagger out of the rubble, unlike every other country. And typically, what I mean by that is because, like I said, if you're a feminist, you actually get arrested in Russia and you get sent to Siberia. And another thing is, they also say that feminism. They believe that Russia was feminism was actually a KGB from the KGB playbook.
Right. And designed as a Trojan horse to destroy the West. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like what we talk about where they say China's playing the long game. Russia's also playing the long game.
Right.
They're just basically waiting. They're just basically sitting and waiting for all intents and purposes.
Right. I mean, that's the thing too. And that's the other danger that we didn't talk about. as this everything collapses, again, China and Russia, they might come in and pick up all the pieces. They might.
Yeah, but in fact, there's movies actually that like where the United States collapses and you get like airdrops from China or Russia. Like think about that. Like Jericho was one of those shows that used to come on Fox, and there was another movie where like it was a Chinese drop, like they basically dropped off supplies to the United States citizens. It was either Russia or China that was actually dropping these things off in succession, basically. And it was one of those things where it's like oh, because Eddie Griffin said this best in a comedy special. Get very acquainted with learning Mandarin. Xi Ding, Ni Hao. He literally said that in a because like that's probably going to be our future.
Yeah. Yeah, they're basically just watching us, devolve and destroy ourselves, and they're just going to be there to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, and another thing that Russia actually said, if the people in the United States actually revolt against the government, they'll support the revolution before they support the actual government. Now, Vladimir Putin said this shit on live TV. That he'll support the people who are rebelling against the country with supplies, troops, guns, tanks, everything. So just imagine you driving down Flatbush in a new tank just so you can fight off the U.S. government. Like, think about that. Like, think how real that would actually be for a Russian tank to just show up and you get to ride it with instructions on how to ride it. Basically, like. Think about that. Like, so it's one of those things where like you literally got to actually think about all the stuff that they say that Putin says from Russia, like, and just try to add it all up together and think about the stuff as a bigger picture. Like, is it something from Russia? Maybe it is something from KGB, a playbook, or maybe China and Russia are playing this long game. We always talk about how economically unstable they are, but they are snapping up a lot of gold lately. They are snapping up a lot of gold lately, so, and they're making a play with the BRICS nations. So it's like, what's real, what's not real, another good example of that is if you ever notice this whole entire play up on, China spying on people. Now we've let TikTok run wild for years on end, and nobody complained about TikTok, and now all of a sudden we're taking away TikTok. But Microsoft is actually coming out with a version of their version of TikTok, so all the people who are crying about their TikTok followers can actually pick up the pieces and restart all over again. Like, that's how sad we've gotten. We're more worried about TikTok than we are about our freedoms.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was way off topic, but yeah, generally that's pretty much how that works. Like, we got our kids more worried about TikTok than they are about, living their best life or probably living another day.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. You got 10 people on here. Do you want to keep it going? I mean, it's still flowing. I can't believe the amount of people still here. Wow.
Yeah, me neither. Any questions from the comment section? Anyone? Everyone?
Or if anybody else.
Yeah, I did refer to it as the USSA a couple live streams ago. Like, welcome to the USSA.
Unless you want to bring someone else in that's out there, if they want to give their information. Because I mean, I don't mind dropping out right now because I'm going to be going to bed soon, anyways.
We might as well just end it, or we might as well just end it because we're on a high note. We're on a high note, so
yeah.
Why end on a low note?
Anybody got any last comments that they want to make, or
any comments from anyone? Society collapse. Usual times. War, women. Power. Oh, yeah, I can see that happen.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Babel prophesizes missiles will destroy by nuclear missiles. I can see that. Banning TikToks like deleting emails. Yeah, for the most part. Yeah. That's a nice reference there. Banning TikTok like deleting emails.
Shinobi Wan says, where do we see ourselves in 10 years? Man, that's way too far out. This shit's getting too weird. I couldn't even tell you.
Say,
I'm only looking at about the next 6 months after this election, after this coronavirus, and all that other stuff. So that's it. I mean, nothing else to really say.
oh,
But
wait a minute. Shinobi wants to say something about the movie Serenity or the series is Firefly. America and China joins forces
yeah, I think it's just
and took over space, took over the world in space. I can see that. Well, the sad part about that, I always talk about the lovely governments. It's funny how our governments fight in public, but they're behind closed doors kissing each other's ass.
yeah. Well, because it's the globalist system.
Yeah. It's like they talk so bad about each other, but behind closed doors, they're perfectly fine and are friendly. But you don't get to see those meetings. But you get to see like the highlights where somebody from Russia is yelling at somebody from the United States, somebody from the United States is yelling at somebody from China, China's yelling at United States, or yelling at Russia. It's like that's typically what you get to see. It's like you only get to see the Kodak moments that they want you to see,
Mm.
so you can so they can make you believe that we don't get along when in fact they're getting along quite well. Because you
Oh
can't
yeah,
tell me that you don't get along and you hold most of our debt.
correct. China does hold most of our debt. Yeah, exactly. Again, that's why I said, guys, just I guess
Billy Goat in the house.
yeah.
Billy the Goat in the house. What's up,
As an
bro?
outro, I'll just say, like I said, I repeat it again, like I've repeated before. Whatever you understanding you have of MGTOW, expand on it. Always have a plan. Always be mobile, and always understand that there's only a few of us out here that really have our six. You know, we're a
Yeah,
very small group, man. So just I don't know. Keep on taking those red pills, man. I'm out.
definitely. And drop some black pills in the process too if you
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to take them all. Just take some of them.
All right, man. All right, guys. I'm out.
All right. See ya. Thanks for coming again.
Yep. Peace.
Peace. I'm going to end this lovely live stream. I had a blast doing it, as always. I love serving this community and the philosophy. Y'all be blessed, be good, treat yourselves, be good to yourselves, and always do right by yourselves. Love yourselves and always expand upon your knowledge and your wisdom and everything about you. Treat yourselves like milk, do not but spoil yourselves. Be blessed, everybody, and have a good night. What's up, Red Pill, Black Pill Philosophy? You came late, but it was a good stream. But see y'all. Peace. True story, Billy the Goat. Say MGTOW, you assholes. Good one.